I went to high school here in Toronto. I went to Crescent School, and my nickname in high school was Hoops G.
Fight.
We have a screenwriting award winner, TV producer, Dan Gladman, who's also an NBA champion. You can check him out on his own podcast, Gym, Rats, and Joints. Is that correct? Where can you find that podcast, Dan?
That's right, Dylan. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're on Spotify, Apple, Google. We recently signed with Acast, so I think we're hopefully going to be all over the place soon. Hopefully, you guys will be too.
Beautiful. And lastly but not least, we have another just a vat of sports knowledge, just a vessel in RJ Stacy. How you doing, RJ?
I appreciate the introduction like that, man. I wouldn't. I don't know if I'd call myself that, but I'm happy to be on the podcast for the first time, boys. This is a good show to be on for my first time here with Dan. So I'm excited for this one. This is a star-studded show you got here with me and Dan.
Absolutely. So I wanted to get started a little bit on Dan's kind of career and how you got to the place you are today. Did you go to college? Did you do that route?
Yeah, I was at the University of Western Ontario, and I just found myself volunteering at the school paper. I was writing more articles about music and films in those days, but I kept an eye on sports as I always did. I wrote a column during March Madness every year, which was super fun. And then I went to journalism school at Ryerson from 97 to 99. And I wanted to get some television broadcast training. And when I walked out from there, two new sports channels had just opened up in Toronto, CTV Sportsnet and The Score. So it wasn't as competitive to get kind of an entry-level job out of school. In fact, when I first applied, the guy who was the the executive producer of it was called Sportsnet Central at the time. He goes, you have a lot of education. Are you sure you want to do this? And I said, absolutely. I want to be in sports broadcasting. And within 2 years, I realized that MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, was starting a Leafs channel, Leafs TV. And while they were doing that, they were starting Raptors TV as well. So I applied. I was aggressive in applying for it and let them know I wanted the job. And, I started there in July 2001, and I was there for 18 years.
Wow. So were you interested in sports first, you'd say, or film and kind of television first? Was it always sports?
Definitely sports. I mean, if you went and I went to high school here in Toronto. I went to Crescent School, and my nickname in high school was Hoops G. If you asked anybody who went to high school with me and you said, who's Dan Gladman, they would say, yeah, Hoops G. I mean, I was a total basketball junkie starting from age 13, NBA, college, whatever. I was fortunate enough. My dad took me to the Final Four in 1988, Kansas City.
Ooh.
And I've just, been legitimately just completely consumed by basketball pretty much every step of my life since then.
And RJ, what was your kind of reason for going to school for broadcasting? Is it kind of similar?
It's kind of just the same sort of thing, man. Like, I've always just had my love for sports. Like, you gave me that introduction as a sport kind of nut. It's always been my thing. And I grew up, always kind of loving numbers and mathematics. And, you pair that with my love for basketball and, other sports. And, you can get into the advanced statistics and stuff like that. I just have a love for statistics, stuff like that, specifically in the sports side. So I also love to, talk about those sort of things. I have my own opinions on those sort of things. So that's why I wanted to get into that broadcasting and journalism sort of field, because then I can kind of have my opinions and I can kind of share them with people that want to. So that was kind of my sort of thing. It's the same sort of. I haven't really broke in yet, but that's why I went to school, because I have the love for sports and I just want to share that with people that would be willing to listen.
So Dan, can you talk us through like kind of your day to day when it comes to what you do now? I know you've done a bunch of television shows in the past, like along your career, but what's kind of your day to day right now?
Well, my day to day right now is a little different. I'm a freelancer, so things are different. Like the last couple days, I've basically been just watching a lot of March Madness. But I'll be producing the Canadian Elite Basketball League games on CBC. That kicks off on June 5th. I think it's Edmonton Stingers at Fraser Valley. That's a rematch of last year's championship. So I'm super looking forward to that, and I'm totally proud and inspired to be a part of that league and a Canadian league that really has what I believe the potential to really change the game in Canada and give Canadians an opportunity to see, really high level professional basketball. On a game day, we'll go to the truck 6 hours before the game starts. We'll prep with video items that we may or may not want, we want to use if the opportunity is there. We'll prep graphics and statistics and storylines. We'll talk to the on-air people. And then, you have about, in these games, you have probably about 2 hours to really tell your story. And, you really feel like part of the action when you're in a truck and you're producing a live basketball game, literally at any level. So I totally look forward to really any opportunity to produce a basketball game. And as I've learned about myself in the past 3 or 4 months, any sport. I mean, I at CBC, I've been working on some snowboarding events, cross country, alpine skiing, bobsledding. And, it almost doesn't matter what the sport is. There's always competition. There's incredible storylines about these athletes. No matter what sport, what sport it is, these athletes are completely inspirational. And, you really just want to go forward and be in a position to tell those stories in any TV broadcast.
So Dan, let's take a few steps back here towards the start of your career. You're directing and producing now. Did you know that's what you wanted to do, or did you have a different role in mind when you started? And how did you work your way up to that role?
Yeah, that is a great question. I mean, when I was a newspaper writer in undergraduate, I didn't really even know what the difference between a TV producer and a director. I didn't really know what they did. When you start to learn about it and you've learned some of your strengths and weaknesses in the media, you learn what you're good at, you learn what you're not great at. I knew that I would be better behind the scenes in a leadership position, and doing what I could to help on-air people be better at what they do, by being a sturdy producer and a sturdy leader. When did I realize that? I don't know. I mean, I probably, like most people, went into the TV business wanting to be on air. But once I learned more about it and, the things that I could accomplish, in 1999, when I started working, there weren't a lot of Canadians on TV or radio talking about basketball.
Yes.
There was John Saunders, there was Leo Routens, there was Norma Wick. It didn't seem terribly possible for someone to break through and get into that. And some people have as the years have gone by, but it took a long time. So at the time, I just felt like the best route for me in a career would be as a producer. I knew I had the background in basketball. I had the education, and I knew within a few years of being in live television broadcasts that I would learn the requisite skills to be able to be good at it and have a career in it.
So when you say you are in the truck preparing like storylines, are you feeding like Jack and Uncle Leo some like subjects to talk about throughout the game based on their opponents and stuff, or do they kind of prep that on their own?
Well, I mean, just to be sure, I'm not working with Uncle Leo and Jack anymore, but
Okay.
I did work with both of them it was funny. I was at CBC the other day, and I saw John Putty, who's a staff producer at CBC Sports, and Putty was the producer of NCAA March Madness on CTV Sportsnet in '99 and 2000. And the hosts were Brad Fay and Jack Armstrong, and I was the assistant producer. So that was a great time, by the way. Those are long days. Those first 4 days.
I can't imagine.
I mean, when you're working with people like Jack and Leo, they're total experts in the field. They don't need to be fed storylines. They already know. But as a producer, you're expected to prepare some of those, to prepare some statistics, to have some things ready. And, it's more about the producer's job is more like to feel out the timing. When is the right time to have that? Perhaps that Leo is going to bring up the story of, Steph Curry's dad used to play for the Raptors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's going to come up. So as a good producer has video of that ready to go if it comes up. As the producer, you might want to push that storyline at a certain point in the show, or the announcers might come to it naturally, and you have to be ready on the fly to make, to adapt that way and be prepared to support their story, what they're talking about with, archival video footage or perhaps a graphical story as well.
So your prep just must be ridiculous because you really don't know 100% where it can go in the game. So that's a lot of prep. Does that I would keep me up at night? I'd be like, what are they going to talk about during the Nets tomorrow? That's tough.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
A good producer is prepared for all kinds of things. You might have 10 storylines prepared. You might only get to use one, but guess what? Those 9 other things are going to be there the next time you play, or maybe it's a year down the road. Maybe it's 2 years, but there is a ton of prep work that goes into it, but you want to look like you have it, you have it ready to go.
Knockout. You